at conducting a speech contest, it takes a lot of preparation and assistance from others. The very first step that you need to confirm when planning a speech contest is which contest are you hosting. So if we look at the upcoming contest season, this spring is the Table Topics contest and also the International Speech Contest. Now that we know what we're hosting, Table Topics and International, we need to pick a date and a location. We need to download the speech contest rule book. This right here, if you can see me, I'm holding it up. You need to have that printed and you need to read it and read it again and read it again. You need to seek assistance and you need to advertise and prepare. So the timing of the contest. When you're trying to schedule your speech contest, you need to look at dates of the area and the division contests, so that can help determine when you should host yours. Ideally, you'd like to schedule your contest 2 to 3 weeks ahead of the next level. So if you're doing a club contest, you want to look at the area contest and schedule your club one 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. You also want to figure out where you're going to host your contest. The best place would ideally be at your meeting space of your home club if you're at the club level. If you're at the area level, you want to look at the distance between your clubs. So for example, in PEI, we have 3 different kind of areas. We have Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, and Western Prince Edward Island. Summerside, sorry. So we hold it usually in kind of the middle of our area, which is Summerside, and then people come from each end and meet. If you're hosting the division level, for PEI, we're in Division E, so that includes New Brunswick. We typically hold it in New Brunswick because there are more clubs and areas in New Brunswick, so the people from PEI travel across. The key point is to make it a centralized location so that the traveling is ideal for most people. There's that contest rulebook. So you want to download this and print it, as I said earlier. You're going to want to make sure you have it at your speech contest because you will probably most likely need to refer to it from time and time again. There's very specific rules for the contest that you're holding. If you're looking at it, pages 15 to 18, it's going to have details on your specific contest, the Table Topics and the International. And I also suggest that you highlight areas of importance in there so that when you need to refer back to it, it's easy to find. So this should go everywhere with you during the contest season. Assistance. We all know that hosting events is not a one-person job. So what do we need in terms of assistance for a contest? We need a contest chair, the chief judge, tie-breaking judge, certain number of voting judges. We need timers, counters, and sergeant at arms. Helpers are the most important thing for this. So when you're looking at club contests, you need a contest chair, the chief judge, and at least 5 voting judges. Also a tie-breaking judge, 2 counters, and 2 timers. When you move up to the area contest and you're hosting that, you're going to need the same amount of people, including the judges have to have a minimum of 5, and they have to be from each club in the area. So if you have 3 clubs, you have to have voting judges from each of those clubs so that everyone is represented. If you're at the division level, you need to have an extra counter, and you need to have the same number of voting judges from each area, or a minimum of 7. It is really important at the division contest level that none of the judges be a member of any club in which there is a contestant participating in the contest. And I have a sergeant at arms there because this helps kind of make the contest whole. They're there to help set up, welcome people, help, and manage the speaking portion so that people aren't going in and out. So it's very important to have a sergeant at arms at the contests, which sometimes we fail to recruit. Looking at the chief judge role, what do they do at the contest? Well, before the contest, they're the person that's helping recruit all of those helpers with the contest chair. They assign the roles, and they are typically the person that provides the paperwork that's needed in order to run the contest effectively. Before the contest starts on that day, when everyone's at the meeting spot, the chief judge has the judges sign their ballots and confirm their eligibility. They do the briefing for the judges, the counters, and the timers. And they ask they make sure to talk to the judges about where to sit and telling them to try to stay away from the contestants as much as possible when they're finding a place to sit. During the contest, the chief judge is responsible for collecting the speech contest record sheet, collecting the tie-breaking judge's ballot. They also oversee the counting process. And then once the tally has been made and the winners have been declared on paper, they bring that list to the contest chair so that the contest chair knows the placement of all contestants. If there happen to be any eligibility or originality protests during the contest, the chief judge and the contest chair will deal with those issues at that time. Looking at the contest chair role, they are the toastmaster of the day. They run the event. Before the contest, this person is responsible for preparing their script to run the contest. It includes things like welcoming all the participants and the guests, making sure that phones are silenced, that there's no leaving the room, those kind of things. Before the contest officially starts, the contest chair is also responsible for briefing the contestants. This is ensuring that eligibility forms are completed, determining the speaking order. They have the speakers pick their order, and they talk about the stage space. It's also important to remind the contestants not to wear anything that identifies their club affiliation. The contest chair is also responsible for introducing the speakers, and there's a certain way to do that. When the contest chair introduces a speaker, they start by saying the speaker's name, the title of the speech, and then their name again. Once all the speeches have been completed, then they remind the audience of complete silence until all the ballots have been collected. Once the ballots have been collected and the chief judge and the counters have gone out of the room, this is when the contest chair gets to interview the contestants. They typically would look at their contestant profile sheet and try to come up with a question from there, and this is done in front of the audience. Sometimes they may call a break if they've had the chance to interview all of the contestants and the chief judge is not back with the results. They may call a short recess. Once the results are received from the chief judge, the contest chair is responsible for sharing the results with the audience. But before results are revealed, the contest chair must announce if time disqualifications have occurred, but it is important that they do not name the contestant. What does a voting judge do? Well, you'll see here on the screen that this is the ballot that they will use. So in order to be a judge, there are certain eligibility points that you have to meet. You must be a paid member, And if you're being a judge at the area or district level, you must be a paid member for a minimum of 6 months, completed a competent communicator manual, or earned a level 1 and 2 in any path. The judge's role is to determine who should win the contest by rating the speaker on 3 different categories. So those are content, which is weighed in at 50%, delivery, which is weighed in at 30%, and language, which is 20%. And you do so by using the official judge's ballot. Each judge is to keep their results confidential. It is important that judges avoid bias and do not have any conflict of interests with any of the contestants. If you have the role of the tie-breaking judge, you remain anonymous as much as possible to everyone, and you do not attend the judge's briefing. The tie-breaking judge is selected by the chief judge. There's a specific ballot that the tie-breaking judge fills out, as you can see here on the screen, and it's only tallied when there is a tie to break once all the other ballots have been tallied. The timer role. Again, this is appointed by the chief judge. There are 2 timers assigned during a speech contest. They are provided with a stopwatch and a signaling device that displays green, yellow, and red colors. This could be cards or an electronic device. One of the timers is responsible for running the timing device, and the other person handles the signaling device. The colors are shown and stay up or lit during the color changes until the color changes to the next one. Once the color red is displayed, it stays up for the contestant to see until they have finished speaking. The timer with the stopwatch maintains and delivers to the chief judge the written record of elapsed time for each speech on the speech contest record sheet, which is also shown here on the screen. The counter role. The counter is responsible for picking up the completed judges' ballots once the judge holds up their ballot. It's usually in a sealed envelope. When the judge is finished, they hold it up in the air. The counter is responsible to go and pick that up from them. Once all the judges' ballots have been collected, the counters go out of the room with the chief judge, and they are responsible for writing down each name of each judge and contestant on this tally sheet. Each ballot is tallied using 3 points for first place, 2 points for second place, and 1 point for third. Once all the ballot results have been entered, you add up the totals, and it is important to check the timer's report to confirm if there have been any disqualifications. The Sergeant at Arms role. Having a Sergeant at Arms for your speech contest can help things run smoothly. The role of the Sergeant at Arms is to help set up the room, greet attendees, and direct them to the appropriate spot. They can also help to make sure that there are no interruptions during the contest, such as people coming in and out of the rooms when they're not supposed to be. Table Topics speech contest and the evaluation contest state that all contestants are to be out of the room to start, and they only come in to compete one by one as to not hear the person before them. So this is where the Sergeant at Arms helps. They would alert each contestant when it is their turn to enter the room for the competition. So you have your date set for the contest, you're ready to rock. How are people going to know when and where it is? How are you going to get people to come? You have to advertise. So how can we do that? We want them to know the who, what, where, when, and whys. So a great way to do that is to share your information. If depending on what level you're at as well, you're going to want to share with the club executive to make sure that they know. You're going to share it at your club during regular meetings. You can send a mass email to any parties that you would like to attend. add the contest to your District 45 calendar so that people in our district are able to check the calendar and see where it's listed. When you do so, please be sure to include details on the time and location. Creating a Facebook event is an easy way to advertise on social media, where you can invite people to the event and then they in turn can invite people as well. It even pops up with a reminder that to those who have selected interested or going that the event is happening soon. Personally asking people to attend is another great way to get people there, either in person or calling them on the phone. This will show the person that you want them to be there. So we've advertised, we've got the date set, we know which contest we're doing. What do we need to do now? We still have to prepare. We want to make sure that we are on brand and have all the materials that we need for the contest. So working with the chief judge, the contest chair confirms that everything is printed, including certificates. So things like an agenda, speaker's certificate of eligibility and eligibility and originality. You need a speech contest time record sheet and instructions. You need a judge's guide and ballot, judge's certification and code of ethics, counter's tally sheet, tie-breaking judge's guide and ballot, speech contestant profile, results form. The contest chair also wants to make sure that they have their script printed off for the event. What other supplies might you want to have there? Things like pens, something for the speakers to draw their order from, such as popsicle sticks or numbers on envelopes, and Toastmasters branded materials. And by that I mean pamphlets and things, because you're hopefully going to have some visitors there who might be interested in learning what Toastmasters is about. So your area directors, your division directors, your district leaders, they all have pamphlets that you can use to promote at your speech contests. Other things, you want to have your banner, you want to have your branded lectern, and a gavel. Depending on the level that you are hosting, you may have trophies as well. You want to make sure that you have your certificates for participation and then also your winner's certificates. That's a lot of materials to prepare, so it's good to have a checklist to make sure that you don't miss anything. At the end of the contest, so the contest everyone has had their chance to say their speech. We've got the results back. The first thing you want to do is thank everyone for their participation and for all the helpers, because without the helpers, you wouldn't have a contest. In order to do the winners, the contest chair is responsible for announcing that. If there are 4 or more contestants, then you say third place first, second place, and then first. If there are 3 or less, then you only say second and first. When you're looking at how many people can participate at each level, at the club, it's whoever wants to try to participate. Then from the winners, you look at moving on to the area. If there are 4 or less areas in your division, 4 or less clubs in your area, then 2 people can move on. And same with division. If there are 4 or less areas in your division, then 2 people can move forward to division. For eligibility, it is about having the people eligible 8 weeks prior. That was on that slide, whoops. And again, it's really important to have your speech contest rule book, because if there are questions that you can't answer, they will be in this speech contest rule book that you have with you. And that is the end of my presentation, Carolyn. So do we have some questions?
We do. Thank you, Crystal. It was a wonderful presentation. And I'm sure I'm sure a lot of us have learned something or relearned things we've forgotten. First question is from Lisette, and she's asking, and Lisette, you might want to ask this yourself. I'm not sure. Is it orientation that you're asking about? Issue? Can you clarify that, Lisette?
She might be on mute still.
She should be able to hear us, though.
Yes, I'm just
sorry
trying to get the right button, that's all.
Okay. Thanks. Can you ask your question again, Lisa?
Sure. It's what was the originality issue that she was talking about? Some speeches have a problem with originality, and somebody has answered that.
Yeah, John Blumsom has come up. Maybe I've answered your question. Speeches must be substantially original. Less than 25% may be quoted or borrowed material. On all non-original sources must be acknowledged and attributed. And Lisette says, thank you.
Yes, that was what I was wondering. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, ideas?
The one question that I might have missed it at the beginning because I was still trying to figure things out here. Was which contests are available this time around?
Sure. So for the spring, we are hosting the Table Topics contest as well as the International Speech Contest. Depending on your area and division, most likely the humorous speech contest has already taken place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
John Blumsom was the very first question. And John, maybe you can elaborate on this. 3.0 San Francisco at the game?
Yeah, that's old information. It's 7-3
okay.
Kansas City now. But
okay.
I'm multitasking.
Glad you're keeping us up on all of this.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or anything about thoughts on the information that Chris has given us tonight?
Hi, this is Sharon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I actually came in a little late too, and my computer wouldn't let me do I'm able to see the slides, but I called in, and so I came in late and I missed the parts about the contest chair. Will I be able to have access to the presentation so I can review the contest chair parts? And the other.
Go ahead.
I'm sure it's on the calendar, but I just wanted to double check when Crystal mentioned that when our club is having a contest to make sure that it's on the District 45 calendar. Toast of the Valley is having one on February 25th at Kilton Library in Lebanon, New Hampshire, 6 p.m.
Okay. What usually happens is you can let your area director know, and then they let the division director know, and then the division director can actually put it in there for you.
I'm sure she did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Crystal?
Yes?
It's Lisa again.
Yep.
If our club hasn't had a humorous contest, are we still eligible to have one? We haven't had any contest yet.
Jonathan Bohm.
Yes, you are eligible. And you can have all 3 contests at one time. That's perfectly acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both.
For my division, I broke it up so that we weren't doing it all at once. But it just depends on how the division director and area directors wanted to do it. So in your case, you would have 3 all at one time.
Yeah, Crystal, I think our area contests are going to be March 28th. And Lisette, I think we're gearing our club up toward the end of February to do our contest. We were talking about that at the meeting.
That's great. It is contest time.
It is that time of year. We have another question, and it says from Diane to everyone. When will this be available? Diane, what was the this you're referring to?
I think she's probably referring to the slideshow
Oh, okay.
or recording, perhaps.
Both. I had the last one that we had. I had problems with the upload of it until last Wednesday, but it's definitely there now. YouTube has changed their format and they have a new uploader, and it does not work with every computer. I'll forewarn everybody of that. So it's better to go. It's better to find out Edge if you use that for a browser, or Chrome. Chrome is usually better. But on either, I could not upload anything, so I had to get someone I knew who was a techie person, and we spent 2 hours trying to put it together, but it's up and running now. So the answer to your question is, as soon as I can get it there, hopefully sometime this week, and hopefully I won't have any more problems. But if I do, I know who I can contact now and who has the answers to help this problem. So do we have any more questions or thoughts, or is
I
any?
have a comment I'd like to share,
Sure.
and that's regarding table topics, which is one of the contests this year. When your club has its table topics contest, it would be very helpful if you passed the question on to the area director for the area contest, and then in turn the area director to the division director for the division contest, because there is a slim possibility, but it has happened, where the same question gets asked, which if you happen to be the winner in a club and that question then pops up again at the area, you have an uneven edge, which might be to your liking if you're that contestant, but we do like to keep things fair. So if you would just pass that along to the next level at each contest, I think that would be really helpful.
Thank you, Jonathan. Anybody how many clubs at present have run any contests as club contests? So they have any people who will be attending the area level? Nobody. Okay. Good to know. We're all on the same level. That's great. We're all moving forward.
I see
Hello.
Sharon's asking about, she's downloaded it, she's found it, but she wants a hard copy. Sharon, you have to print it off.
Okay.
Okay. Any other thoughts, questions of Crystal, or any experiences anyone has had with their running a contest that they'd like to share?
Another point a suggestion I'd like to make, because this happened to me at my last division contest, is make sure the contestants know what time you want them there. If you don't get a reply back from your email to them, pick up the phone and call them, because otherwise the day of the contest you're wondering, and I was stressing every minute that went by, where is this person, where is this person? So and it's good to give a contact number in case someone needs to reach you and you're not checking your email as well.
Or you're having problems with your email?
Because you never know what can
Crystal,
happen that morning or that day.
Does that come from the chief judge or the contest chair to let the contestants know what time to be there?
The contest chair.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. because you don't want anyone to miss the briefing. If one of the contestants is not there for the briefing, because that almost happened to me, on page 10 of your speech rule contest booklet, it says if the primary contestant is not present when the person conducting the contest is introduced, the primary contestant is disqualified and the alternate officially becomes the contestant. So it says should the primary contestant arrive after the briefing, but before the person conducting the contest is introduced, the primary contestant is permitted to compete, provided the primary contestant reports to the contest chair upon their arrival and has all the required paperwork in good order before the contest is introduced. Before the contest is introduced to begin.
That's a very
So
important item.
there's rules around everything, and they're all in this booklet. So it's really important to read it before you have your contest so that you know. And it's okay to get it out and refer to it if someone's asking you a question and you're just not sure. We don't expect you to memorize this by heart by any means. Get it out and look through it and find the answer. And if
Okay,
there's
I have another question.
Go for it.
sure,
Sorry, you're still talking.
that's okay. That's okay.
Okay, it's kind of, if the meeting starts at 6 p.m., what time would the briefing
Briefing?
happen? Yeah.
So typically when I do my contests, I say the briefing will start, mine is typically always on a Saturday morning, and briefings start at 9:30 and the contest will start at 10. So I ask my speakers to all be there by 9:15 so that at 9:30 when we start briefing, right on time because we're Toastmasters, they are there. It gives them a 15-minute window between 9:15 when they're supposed to be there and 9:30 when the briefing starts. Half an hour and the contest starts.
Okay.
Great questions.
Anybody else who might have some questions or thoughts or experiences to share?
Another thing is if you are looking at the rule book and something doesn't make sense and it's, 1 or 2 weeks or maybe 4 or 5 days before the contest, you can reach out to your area director, your division director, people in the leadership top 4. You can also reach out to Toastmasters International. They have a speech contest email where you can specifically talk to them about speech contests. I've emailed them before about eligibility, number of people moving forward. You just have to be prepared to wait a couple of days to hear back from them because they get mass emails and it does take a little bit of time. You won't get an answer. Highly, highly unlikely that you'll get an answer that day. But that is an option as well.
Perfect. So does anybody else have any experiences they would like to share? Crystal, in how long have you been a Toastmaster? Do you mind me asking?
Since 2016.
Ah, okay. So in the experience with your contest that you've either been a part of or run, is there anything that stands out in your mind that isn't in the rule book?
That you want to have fun.
Oh, yes.
The rule book doesn't really talk about fun, but you want to have fun. Some people do like to, when they're hosting these events or these contests, they do like to provide food. That is totally up to yourself, depending on when it is. Some people like to do morning coffee and say a box of Timbits. It's not mandatory by any means, but we all know that food does typically bring people out. but unfortunately there is no budget for contests, so it would be coming out of perhaps maybe your club has some funds that they'd like to spare, but that is an option because I do appreciate when there is food.
Okay, which brings me to a question for Jonathan. When Crystal said there's no funds for contests, is it possible going forward to have under consideration that if 2 or more clubs get together to host a contest, that they could get the $25 refund? And if each club got the $25, then that could provide money for getting the.
I'm gonna mute myself. My dog's barking.
Sorry. He's got something to say too. That we.
I think you know. There's a word that I don't like to use very often, but I'm afraid this is a situation where I have to use it, and that is no.
Oh, okay.
The open house money that you're talking about is really for a bona fide open house, and the rules that we have now are that you actually have to get a member to sign up from attending that open house. We don't just fund the open houses.
Okay.
And I sympathize with everybody who's running a contest and has no budget to do it. But of course, your clubs may have some funds from your club dues, which some clubs charge and some don't. And your areas have no dues, but they can solicit from the clubs. And I know that this makes it hard sometimes when you're trying to get trophies to give out when you don't have any money to buy the trophies. And a few years back, we did make the change that district does provide for the division contest trophies. But I don't like to say it's just the way that it is, but it is. And, you know, future leadership teams might be amenable to some changes in the rules, but we operate on a very, very tight budget. And so I don't think you'll see it happening. I do just have to remind everybody that if you are having trophies, you can purchase them from TI. If you are purchasing them from a local vendor, you cannot use the Toastmasters logo on there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, that's considered a brand violation. So you can say your club and you can say Toastmasters, but you cannot use the logo on there.
Okay. John Bunsen says Halifax libraries charge $25 for half a day. I'm assuming to use one of their rooms because they have different size rooms, which is a good thought because you're in the public and you have all sorts of people who would be curious about what we do, and they'd be a good place one of the many good places to have it. Thanks, John. Okay, beginning the wrap up. Does anybody else have any comments or suggestions or stories they'd like to tell about contests? Okay.
I'll butt in with one last comment. Sure. And Crystal emphasized it again and again and again to look at the rule book and have it with you. Make sure it's the latest edition of the rule book. If you have one from last year, throw it away. It's not going to do you any good and it may get you into trouble.
And that's a good point because that's not hard to do without a manual.
And the rule followers will point that out to you.
Well, I'd like to thank Crystal for her wonderful presentation this evening. I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and hopefully you get to see some of the game before it's finished. And John, who are you betting on? Hopefully the team that's winning right now. So everyone, have a good evening. Thank you for attending, and I'll get this up as soon as possible, hopefully with less hassle than the last time. And have a good week, in 2 weeks. Keep your eyes open for what's going on Google Calendars, any calendars for the next webinar. Ostensibly, it was to be the 16th of this month, but there's a holiday in both sides of the border. So we're going to try to have it the following week, but that's not concerned. That is not confirmed. So look at the calendars, and I will keep everybody updated on Facebook and website. Thank you, and have a great week. Bye for now.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Crystal.
Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal. Bye for now.
You're welcome. Have a
Bye,
good
everyone.
night. Bye.
You too.
Night, everybody.
Bye.